it's Friday night. It's been a week since my video, and I have some apologies. I didn't make my Saturday vlog. Not that many of you watch them, but I did promise you guys I would make it, but I have excuses. They're not legit good excuses, but they're still excuses. I was out all day Saturday. Well, not all day, but basically all day with my friends. I didn't get home until about 10:30 at night, and I wasn't going to make it at that point. The next day, it was Sunday. I had some time, but not a lot of time. I basically spent most of the day with my family like I usually do. And then Monday, I just didn't do it. Tuesday, same deal. And I figured by Wednesday, I already had procrastinated so much, I might as well just wait until Saturday. So what I've decided is that from now on, my Friday videos, I have been keeping up with them because I love doing them. I love doing these reviews, and basically I have decided that this is what I'm going to be doing mainly. These reviews are going to be the key to my channel, what I've decided to do, and I will still be making vlogs, just not on a regular basis. I will make them only when I feel that there's something I want to talk about. I will still make one tomorrow, but I will not be making them as often, and they will not be on a schedule. So I will tell you guys all about things tomorrow, but tonight let's get down to the review. I will be reviewing the book Unwind by Neal Shusterman. This book is awesome, but it's also really messed up. I'll read you guys the synopsis so you get a little background information on it, so let's jump right into it. The Second Civil War was fought over reproductive rights. The chilling resolution, life is inviolable from the moment of conception until age 13. Which means that you can't abort. Between the ages of 13 and 18, however, parents can have their child unwound, whereby all of the child's organs are transplanted into different donors, so life doesn't technically end. Connor is too difficult for his parents to control. Risa, a ward of the state, is not talented enough to be kept alive. And Lev is a tit, a child conceived and raised to be unwound. Together, they may have a chance to escape and to survive. Now, let's start off with Connor. Basically, Connor is a 16-year-old. He lives with a family who has, basically he's an average kid, but he gets into a lot of fights, and he argues with his parents. And he stumbles upon the fact that he is going to be unwound. He finds the receipt, and rather than telling his parents, he decides to torture them because they've signed the release. It cannot be undone. He will be unwound no matter what. So what he decides to do is, rather than confront them about it, he decides to make it look like he's turning his life around. He starts getting good grades. He starts being a good guy. He gets into less fights. And he feels that if he's going to die, then he's going to go out making his parents regret their decision. Right around the time that he's going to get unwound, the night before, he runs away. Now, the reason he's making his parents feel bad, I'll explain this real quick, is because he also found tickets for them to go on a vacation right after he's being unwound. Now, he didn't know at first, but he found the tickets and there were only two of them. No, three of them. Him, his parents, and his sibling. There wasn't any for him. So basically, he realized once he found the receipt for the unwinding that he was going to be unwound and he would get back to his parents. So before he's unwound, he realizes he doesn't want to die. So he runs away. And he meets up with this trucker who basically he has the arm of an unwound kid. Basically, he got the entire arm grafted onto his body. Let me explain this. Unwinding, like it said, is a process where they use every single part of your body. your legs, your blood, your bones, your gallbladder, your eyes, every single part of your body is taken into organ donation and it will be used. Somebody will get it, including your brain. I find that kind of messed up. But the trucker that he meets up with, he has the Unwind arm, and it's grafted onto him, and it's not exactly the same skin tone, which is how Connor is able to tell that it is an Unwind arm. But the trucker doesn't turn him in as an Unwind runaway, which is a crime, because technically he is stealing from the federal government, because when you sign the Unwind release form, you are giving that child to the government to be used. Now, he doesn't turn him in because he shows him that the hand that he has, he can do magic tricks with that hand. It's not something he knew before. It's what's known as muscle memory. This kid that he got it from had done magic apparently, and he'd been kind of talented. And because of muscle memory, the trucker could do things with his new arm that he couldn't before, because it wasn't his. So he feels that whoever this kid was a real person, and he was very talented, and he didn't deserve to be unwound. Whether or not he got a new arm, he feels that this kid didn't deserve what he got. So he's trying to help Connor. But the next day, the authorities stumble upon his truck, and they find Connor, and basically they capture him. They're taking him to a place to be unwound. No, they don't find him, but they're trying to catch up to him. They're shooting him, trying to shoot him with tranquilizer bullets. And eventually he runs into the middle of traffic. Now, this is where the story cuts off to a new person. Her name is Risa. She is a ward of the state, which means she's basically an orphan. She's trying out, she's great at the piano, she's an amazing musician, but according to the state that she lives in, she's not good enough. So, they decide that because she isn't good enough musician, or she's not talented enough to be kept alive, rather than keeping her alive and feeding her and doing all those costs, they decided to unwind her. It's just cheaper. So, she is in a bus and she's on her way to be unwound when she sees a boy. Okay, sorry about that minor delay. My dad walked in. No big deal. Okay, so where was I? She sees this boy, who is Connor, run into the middle of traffic. And that's where the story cuts off to another boy. This boy is what's known as a tit. His name is Lev. Now, it's short for Levi, and basically, he lives in a family who is very, very religious, but they're Christian religious. And they live in this faction of Christianity where they take tithing to the extreme. And of course, tithing is in the Bible giving 10% of what you have to God as a donation. So what they did is they had 9 kids. 9 kids. Come on, that's kind of ridiculous. But they had 9 kids, and so they had a 10th. Now, they specifically had the 10th child, so that way, one day, he would be unwound on his 13th birthday. And this is a very common practice, and it's supposed to be looked highly upon because they are raised and born for a godly purpose. Of course, this is wrong looking into it. It's kind of stupid, but they don't know that. So, basically, Lev has been raised his entire life knowing that he is going to be tithed. And he's accepted it. He wants to be tithed. He wants to be unwound. He is basically brainwashed. His priest has told him that what he's doing is for God. So, he's on his way to the unwinding center, so that way he can be unwound. He's just by himself. He's in white clothes. He has his priest in the car, and his parents are in the car. They all love him. They're all supportive. They all want what's best for him. When all of a sudden, this crazy dude runs into traffic. This is where all 3 stories condense and meet. Now, what happens is when Connor runs into traffic, cars stop and they skew, and there's this huge wreck. What he does is, because the cops are catching up to him, he takes Lev, pulls him out of the car, and wraps his arm around him and basically holds him as a hostage. He says, "Don't come any closer or I'm going to kill this kid." And Lev, of course, he's like, "No, you have to let me go. I need to be unwound." And and Connor's just like, "What? You want to be unwound? What is wrong with you?" And Lev bites him. Like, not just a little bite, I'm talking about he chomps him. Draws blood, it's there. But Connor still runs off with Lev. Now the bus that Risa was on completely tipped over. She gets out. She sees them running. And she realizes, wait, I'm about to be unwound. They're not going to notice me in this chaos. So she runs right out. And this is where they start to meet. They get into get into this. They start talking. They realize they have to stay with each other for alive. But of course, Lev is not convinced that these people are his friends. He still thinks that unwinding is good. So, what he does is he plays along with them, starts trying to make them think that he's against unwinding, and he's plotting that at the first opportunity he's gonna run. So what happens is eventually they end up at this school, and when they get there, they try to blend in. They didn't mean to, but they did, and this is after they have this. Before they end up at the school, they see a child on a doorstep. And what this is known as is stalking. When unwinding was made legal, so it was stalking. Basically, if you have a child, of course you can't abort it, but if you can leave it on someone's doorstep and run away before they see you, then it's their problem, legally. Now, Connor had a bad experience with stalking as a kid. Basically, what happened is when he was little, his parents had a storked baby put on their doorstep, but they didn't want it, and it was so early in the morning that nobody knew. So they decided to just put it on to the neighbor's house. About 2 weeks later, the same baby shows up on their doorstep again. Now, what Connor says is, he opens the door and says, "We've been storked again." That's when they realize it's the same kid. This kid has been passed around the neighborhood every day for 2 weeks. Hasn't been fed, hasn't drunken anything, and he's got this sickly disease. He's really bad. And they finally decide, this is wrong. This kid is sick. We're going to take him to the hospital. So they do. And the baby dies a couple days later because it's so sick there's nothing they can do. And at the baby's funeral, they do name it, and the baby takes Connor's family's name, but every single person in the neighborhood is there because everybody feels responsible. Nobody was willing to take this kid. And they realized that that was wrong, and they're responsible for this kid dying. So Connor is really, really, really sensitive to storked babies. And he sees this baby being storked, and the kid opens the door and says, "Mom, we've been storked again." And it really hits him at home. So basically, when the mom comes up, he goes up there and claims that it's his kid. So they take the baby, they get on the bus, and apparently this isn't a new thing. Like, kids have these babies all the time. They just take them to school. The school has daycare, whatever. So they get to the school by accident while they're running from the cops. And all three of them get in there. They hide in the bathroom just the whole time. And then what happens is eventually, during passing period, Lev runs to the office. They don't even realize that he's gone until it's too late. He's at the office. He tells them the whole story. He asks if he can call his priest because he explained that he's a Tith, and of course Tiths in the society are very highly looked upon. He calls his priest, and his priest is like, "Hold on a second, Lev. I understand you want to come back, but I want you to stay there." Now, his entire life, the priest has been telling him that tithing a person and unwinding is good. Now, basically, the priest is telling him the opposite, that what was being done to him is wrong. He tells him to keep his face out of the newspaper, to lay low with his new friends, so that way he can live until he's 18, so he can't be unwound anymore. Because once you reach the age of 18, you may go to jail, but you can no longer be unwound, and you will live. So he's just kind of like, his whole viewpoint has changed. And of course, by this time, Connor and Risa know that he's betrayed them. So, right when the police and all the stuff go over there looking for Connor and Risa where Lev told them they would be, he pulls the fire alarm. A sudden change of heart. He realizes that he's got to keep himself alive, and Connor and Risa are his best bet. So he pulls the fire alarm and he bolts. He runs. Now, Lev doesn't catch up with Connor and Risa for a while. Basically, they meet up with the teacher during the fire alarm, and the teacher's name is Hannah. Now, she is not, you don't know it at first, but she's part of this underground organization that saves unwound children and takes them to a place that keeps them safe until they're 18. What,